You live in Dublin, but as far as I'm informed, you have a house in Enniscorthy as well. What is your home?
The house is in Wexford. I mean, it's on the coast. It's about 10 miles from the town. It's where we spent the summers when I was growing up. And it's very remote. And it's a place I go to work. But home, these are large words like home. And you better not to think about them. But I go there to work, and when I'm there sometimes, a smell, for example, the smell of hedges after rain.
Yeah.
You're getting a certain smell. Is straight back to memory, and also quite a lot of it hasn't changed. I mean, the lanes and the systems, like the lanes going down to the beach, really haven't changed in 40 years.
So for you, it's important to go, if you write a novel, for example, about a specific place and you want to have the details, you want to go back there and observe it yourself.
I found that when I would go down there that I was getting quite a lot of emotion from the landscape and from memory. And then I realized that if I actually built a house down there, I would be able to summon this up much more, use it much more, and it's been very useful for me.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about another novel of yours, which is called The Master. There's actually an anecdote that I found about the research for your novel, and while visiting Henry James's lamp house in Sussex, which was his summer house, you met two other writers who did their research on the same topic. And I mean, in retrospect, you didn't really have much to fear because obviously your novel has been highly acclaimed. But still, I can imagine that at that time, at that moment, there was a kind of pressure as well. And I would be interested, how important is it for you as a writer to write about something new, whatever that means?
Well, I was working on the book, and I ended up one day there, and somebody was writing a book about Henry James and Edith Wharton, and someone else there was writing a novel which, by the way, has not been published, about Henry James. So you know, it was a sort of sad business because when they realised what I was doing, they realised it was a dangerous business because people weren't going to publish infinite numbers of books on, you know, infinite numbers of novels on Henry James. But you know, the idea had occurred to me, and the last thing I thought was that anyone else would do it.
How would you describe your personal relationship to Henry James?
Oh, I like a few of the novels, and I admired the sort of dedication, seriousness, reticence, tact. And also I'm interested in the rootlessness, in the business of being, you know, American in England, and then when he went back to America, being English. I like the loner in James.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other writers that have influenced you a lot during your career?
I would think Hemingway has, and I would think Conrad has.
Mm-hmm. In what ways?
Hemingway, stylistically, I like the way those sentences of his are filled with emotion, and that the really important rhythm is somehow between the words rather than in the words. Mm-hmm. I also like the sort of attitude, which is sort of smart. With Conrad, it's mainly adjectival. I mean, I just like the way he knows when to heap things on. Mm-hmm. You produce a gorgeous paragraph and then slowly tell you something much sharper. And I also, I suppose, I mean, Conrad's really bad on women. I feel really sorry for him because he's always picking these women who are, a woman for him is either, like, he can be very misogynistic, but the allure of women is something that drives his characters crazy. When they fall in love, God, do they fall in love. But it's the business of the men that I'm interested in there. But there would be another figure like Alice Munro, contemporary short story writer, whose work I also really liked.
Mm-hmm. How do you create your characters? How do you give life to them?
I put a lot of thought into it. In other words, I don't start until I'm ready to start. So by the time I've started, I've been sort of thinking about it a lot. Not deliberately thinking, not setting aside time to think, but that the idea, you know, what makes up the character has been coming to me. And I don't start until the idea has made its way into rhythm, where I have an actual sentence, a paragraph, a sound, and the novel starts like that. And then the job is really to finish it. Mm-hmm. And that could take a year, 2 years, 3 years, but you've got to finish it.
Have you ever been in a time where you felt, oh, this is not going to work, this is so hard, in a kind of, I don't know, crisis where you had to really struggle with characters and stories?
Yeah, there are two abandoned books where I just felt there wasn't enough in this book. That somehow or other the impulse didn't match the actual first 100 pages. And I just gave up.
Do you think you will be ever able to kind of go back to those stories and kind of create something new?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, that you waste not, want not, and that things make their way into short stories, and yeah, those things are always on your mind. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because when I think of Brooklyn, for example, it was the inspiration came from a little thought, which was part of your short stories, right?
That's right. Yeah, and then it made its way into the novel. So yeah, you're constant. I mean, once the impulse is there, it's a meaningful impulse. In other words, you may not get it right the first time you try it, but it will always be lurking there in the background. Yeah.
That's true. Let us talk a bit about Ireland. I know, a huge topic, but over the last couple of decades, Irish society has experienced both great changes and also turbulence. And what are your personal hopes and fears for how things might develop?
Well, I thought what happened in Northern Ireland was miraculous, and it was a great success for politics, in that figures who are not particularly admired anymore, such as Tony Blair in England, the Irish government, but also politicians within Northern Ireland, got down to do what politicians should do, and they should have done much earlier, which is get involved in negotiations towards an agreement, that people would follow them, made the arguments, and I think people really wanted that. In the Republic, I'm in favour of greater openness to Europe, and just general liberalism. And it's a very liberal economy. I think it's become a very liberal society. But obviously, everybody's had a downturn now. So everybody's sort of worried about jobs. Everyone's worried about, infrastructure projects not being finished. And I think, and also the banks have been dreadful. And in a way, we've been let down very badly by our, men who were being praised as heroes within capitalism, our builders, our investors, turned out to be absolute idiots. And the church turned out also to be untrustworthy in many ways. So there's almost a sense that you cannot trust authority in this society, which is a sort of interesting idea.
Mm-hmm. And how would you describe the relationship between Ireland and its past?
I'm not sure if there's any real or close one. There's often an invented one, where there are commemorations and people feel, Irish people think about... I think Irish people think about shopping in the same way as everybody else, that if they had a choice between attending a commemoration or going shopping, they'd go shopping. I'm not sure whether that's good or bad, but it's true.
Colm, there are many creative writing students here at Warwick and of course at other universities as well. What would be your personal message to those people who want to do exactly the same as you? I mean, bringing their stories to life.
Just simple. Finish everything you start.
And how does the start look like?
Well, just, I don't know. I mean, everyone's way of starting is different, but often you discover a great deal as you carry on. But if you keep abandoning work, then you don't get that discovery.
Thank you very much, Colm.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.